Oh, star date 99883.95. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Star Trek Discovery Podcast, a kind of smart, kind of funny podcast about new and classic Star Trek. I am the board queen who has intercepted the comm once again, Mariah Gossett, and I'm so excited to have me join us tonight. We have Subrina from the Syfy Sistas.
Whoop 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 whoop. What's going on?
I'm so glad you're here. I think this is going to be such a fun conversation about Picard. We've already been jibber jabbing behind the scenes, but I would love for you to go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners and our viewers this evening.
Hello, everyone. I am Sabrina Wood, one of four co-hosts of the podcast Sci-Fi Sisters, part of the Trek Geek Network, and we are four women that talk about Star Trek from a black girl's point of view. So, hang on to your hats because we got some stuff to talk about tonight about this episode of Picard.
Woof, we got so much to talk about. I'm really excited to dig into everything, but just a few pieces of housekeeping and some reminders for this evening. If you would like to interact with us in the chat, there's a few ways you can do that. We will kind of see your conversations going on, but if you want to catch our attention, have a question for us, you can type capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod in the chat, and we will take a look at that. And also, there's a particular time in the episode, we're about to get there, where you might have some spicy takes, some thoughts, some hot frakes or hot takes, if you will. And we will get to that in just a moment. But you can type a capital HF for your hot frake when we get to that point in the episode. We are going to be talking about the 7th episode of Picard in season 2. This was directed by Joe Mendez and written by Jane Maggs. And I'm really excited to get all of your hot takes here, Sabrina. And if you would like to support this podcast in other ways, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/Star Trek Pod. And you can also find us anywhere you get your podcasts and hang out with us on the live stream on YouTube. So I hope you find all of the ways to interact with us. You can find all the links and more at StarTrekPod.co. Sabrina, where can people find your podcast?
They can find our podcast at trekgeeks.com/sci-fi sisters. You can also see us on YouTube as Sci-Fi Sisters YouTube. That's it.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Well, I think it's time we perchance start to get into some thoughts, some feelings, some hot frakes. Grant lives on with us as our hot frakes voiceover.
I love that.
But Sabrina, as you're joining us for the first time, so our hot frakes is just a quick 30-second to 1 minute, your tantalizing thoughts, your first impressions, things you got to get off of your chest. What did you think about this episode of Picard?
Well, I thought this episode was a mishmash of things, and I don't know where all these threads are going and how they're all going to tie together, but I hope they do. But first thing I have to say is, did Rios flunk temporal mechanics in Starfleet Academy? That's the first thing I got to say. All right, that's my 30 seconds. He needs to go back and take that course over.
Yeah, someone might have skipped a few days in class. There's some issues here. I can see the inklings of how we're going to get to our eventual temporal wars that I think are playing into what affects our
Cristobal did the whole thing.
our Star Trek Discovery career in the future. But yeah, I'm right there with you. It's a mixed bag. There were some moments I really loved in this episode. There was some like very moving, emotional spots. I also really loved a lot of our fun little guest stars that we got this episode too. I continue to love Ito's Guinan. I think she's doing an incredible job.
Yes.
That was probably the shining moment for me in this particular episode was her interactions with Picard. But yeah, otherwise there was a few things I felt like, and I've said this about a couple of the episodes this season. I always feel like we're taking like 2 steps forward, 8 steps back every episode.
Exactly.
And I'm just craving a little bit more closure. And we'll kind of get into that when we talk about Picard and his memories here
Mm.
for a minute. But I would love to check out what we've got going on in the chat. Let's see what we got here. Michael L said, "Pod, this episode was a journey throughout this season. Was going to be about Thought this season was going to be about childhood trauma and abuse. Turns out it's more nuanced take on parental mental health. Still digesting it." Yes, I definitely think there's a little bit of we all kind of thought something was going to be going on here, potentially with like the father and mother's relationship. Is there a potential for kind of exploring what it means when there's abuse in spousal relationships? But it's seeming to be a little bit more complicated, which I'm all for exploring the complicated. So I hope it continues to spark some good discussions. Let's see here. Choopy says, "Hot Freak, the episode was like a maze, like Picard's mind." I agree. We went on quite a few twists and turns. There was a lot going on in this particular episode. And Kuhn says, "Hot Freak, more Jamie Callis, please. Dr. Beltar can always come play someone other than Picard's dad." I agree. I'm kind of sad that this potentially could mean the closing of any possibility of him coming and being in a Star Trek uniform in the future. But perhaps, we love to recycle actors in different roles in Star
Yes.
Trek. So
Put some alien stuff on him. He'll be fine.
he'll be fine. We'll figure out a way. He can be a voice of a computer potentially. That could be fun.
Oh,
A
yeah.
hologram.
They need to bring him back because I loved it when I saw him sitting there. I was
I
like,
know.
"No, we're going Battlestar Galactica,
Oh,
yes."
I know. And I used to binge. Battlestar Galactica was like my undergraduate show. We would just like binge that on a weekend and just have back when you had to like rent DVDs to binge things, you know.
Right. Oh, those days.
Marge says, "Hot Freak, very emotional exploration of Picard's childhood with a mom with mental issues." Agree. Yeah, some interesting stuff. I'll keep an eye on the chat. But let's go ahead and dive into some of these main discussion points and things I wanted to chat about this episode. I think the big thing we definitely explore the most, the A storyline for sure, is Picard's memories and his relationship between his mother and father. What did you think about that whole kind of mental sequence we had going on between him and Tallinn?
Well, I honestly, because it's so heavy, the thing that they're trying to get to, that I don't want to make light of the scenes because they were trying to tell us something very important. But I kind of want to get back to the temporal reality. But it was great. I thought the direction of it was wonderful, and I love the look of it. Even though I'm getting a little tired of all of these dark scenes where you can barely see what's going on.
It's a trend across television that I
Oh my
hate.
God. It's like,
Turn on the lights.
is it my television? I'm trying to see what's going on. But I did, my favorite part of the whole dream quest and sequence was the part between Picard and the doctor, who I enjoyed listening to that. I enjoyed listening to that whole thing and watching Picard totally in the tuxedo, slumping down in the chair. Now he's got the tie hanging off. He's looking like he just got beat up in this thing. So that was interesting. I mean, I absolutely just glaze over when the kid is stuck in the thing. I'm sorry, I just cannot stand it. But I just wanted to move along. But I enjoyed the idea of Talon going in to hack his memories. I thought that was cool, even though this sort of thing we've seen before. I mean, we've seen Michael Burnham going back and having all this childhood trauma and having to live with it for years, and then she finds out it's not really what happened. So what's going on? And then we had even Cisco stuck in a place where he couldn't get out. So this has happened to a lot of kids. This is not something that we were talking about this episode before, having some sort of not a mental issue problem thing. It's not something that would keep you from the captaincy. You can function and do this even though you have these issues behind you. You just have to tough it through. So we've seen Burnham tough it through, Cisco tough it through, and now we're realizing that Picard has had to do it too.
Yeah, I think and I appreciate that about Star Trek, saying that you don't have to be a perfect being to be a good leader, right?
Right.
And I agree. I love the interactions between Picard and Jamie Callis's performance of Picard's father slash the psychiatrist, is what we think of it
Yes.
early on. Which I felt like I was like, as soon as I realized that, oh, this has to be someone that Picard has conjured for a reason, right? Like, can't just be like a random
Right.
person in his mind, that it's going to have some significance. I
Yes.
was like, is this the adult, this version of like his brother or his dad? Like, what is this like male figure that we're sort of getting here?
Yeah.
Um,
I thought it was Talon at first. You know,
oh, yeah, like
I thought it was
in something else.
her coming in to
Interesting.
hack the thing out of him, and then I realized, no, she isn't even in there yet. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, who is this guy?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that would have been when he was just talking and you hadn't seen anybody at first too. I thought it was going to be Q for a few, to like mimic the scene
Oh,
with
right, right.
Renee and Q. But yeah, then we got the reveal that it was Jamie Callis, and I thought they could. I really appreciate. So you don't know this, Rita, but like I have family with pretty severe like mental illness, and so I always appreciate when they kind of go into this place where it's like there are alternate realities for some folks, right? Like
Hmm.
there are spaces and dark places that people live, and like it's not always the same reality as the other people that are within their realm, right? Like
Sure.
it can be very different. Um but I almost wish they had been more explicit with Picard's mother, because I know in like, I'm not a huge TNG, like I wouldn't say I have like the largest lexicon for TNG. I was a Voyager gal, so
Okay, go ahead,
um,
lay it down. I know TNG.
but we've seen his mother in other instances in TNG, where he sees his mother as like an older figure, and so I can't remember. Did his mom pass like when he was a child?
Yeah, okay. I said I know TNG, but maybe I don't. And I thought the woman that we saw in TNG, I thought that was his grandmother. We saw a scene
Okay.
where he was having tea with her in the
Yeah.
alternate. Yeah, I thought that was his grandmother, and I really don't think we've seen his mother. But stop, tell me in the chat if I'm wrong. But
Yeah, let
I
us
don't
know.
recall him really ever addressing anything about his mother. His father, of course.
Right, yeah. We know that they didn't get along, and I think there's, like, moments in TNG where he talks about, like, how his mom was really into music and kind of more of the arts, right? Like, I think he got his
Hmm.
appreciation of the arts from his mother. Clyde, you're in the chat, thank you. Um, let us know, if it was his mom or his grandma, but, then I was left wondering, like, did she eventually in the words that they're using in the show, right? Like succumb to the darkness, to the point where she was unable to mother, or to the point where she was,
Right.
no longer with them, and had passed, or like what was the situation kind of there, because we're sort of left with this child Picard um potentially rescuing his mother. That's what we left off, that there's more to that story, right? So I think we'll get the rest of it, but I so wished we had sort of finished that timeline, if you will, so that
Right.
we could move forward, like you were saying, into the current situation of trying to fix space-time in order for us to have a
And
future.
save the galaxy one more
Save the
time.
galaxy one more
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
you guys got things to do. You got fish to fry. Let's go. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that, and I think they're doing this on purpose because there was a lot of void there about Picard's mother. You heard so much about his brother and
Mhm.
his father, and even his even his nephew. But I don't recall much about his mom. But yeah, I appreciated you know, once Talon got there and Picard was there and the young boy was there.
Mhm.
I thought that was really cool. So the levels of the dream, from the psychiatrist's office to the boy himself, going through what he's seeing in his mind, and Talon coming in. I mean, it was all great, but it was just like, golly, did we go this long with the prophets and Cisco? No, I don't think so.
We're gonna have to figure it out. But yeah, I agree with you. I really liked when Talon finally showed up. And then what did you think about, I kind of got the hint that potentially she's either using Romulan technology or that she was Romulan, because the earpiece that she put on had a pointy ear on it.
Yeah, no,
Um,
and she's in the previous episode too. She said something, and it was in Romulan.
right.
And I said last week, oh, she's Romulan. Oh, listen. And then yeah, the earpiece I think definitely is Romulan stuff. Who else would have, what was it called? A neuro optic
Interceptor or something.
interceptor. That is so Romulan. That is straight up Romulan. So yeah, I think it was definitely something she got from the home world.
Yeah, they're like, we're not, like Zen enough to mind meld, so we have to have a
No,
device to
yeah, we're
do
gonna
it.
put a thing on here. We're gonna come right for you.
Yeah,
But I
we're
love that she gave him that piece of herself after, she had learned so much about him. She says, I'll tell you a little bit about me. And then showed him the ear. I just loved that. That was so cute.
I also like that too, that it's like, oh, I've now literally seen the inside of your head. Let me at least tell you a little bit more about myself.
Yeah. I'll just give you an ear tip.
Little ear tip. So yeah, we also kind of our B plot line here is Seven and Raffi are trying to find our Borg queen Girardi as she is taking on Los Angeles. Which we did get a fun cameo. So the bar singer is actually Sir Patrick Stewart's in real life wife. She was the
Oh,
singer in the
because she
bar.
looked, I knew she had to be somebody or something because I don't know why she looked familiar to me, but I thought it was some callback to some old girl group or something. I didn't know what it was, but I said somebody will tell me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, we're lingering too long for this to just be generic bar singer. So then I did a little
Exactly.
Googling and I was like, aha, here we are. Um, but yeah, I think Girardi's having, the time of her life while not actually being present for it in some ways. The Borg Queen slowly tries to take over her brain. But I think it's interesting that the Borg Queen is like using Girardi in a way to like gain people's attention, right? She's like sultering around Los Angeles in this like plunging neckline red dress and getting, the patrons' attention, but then is like, oh, I'm not gonna just like maybe punch a dude in the face. I'm going to just shatter a window and come off as like a total bananas person.
Total Looney Tune.
Yes.
I am loving Allison Pill in this. I mean, I loved her last season, and she is just bringing it every time. And so is Annie, who's playing the Borg Queen. But you didn't
Mhm.
see her in this episode. But um, my God, I love this storyline almost as much as I'm loving the young Guinan storyline. And so I get kind of irritated when we go back to the chateau in the basement. I'm like, no, give me more Girardi. But the thing about Seven and Raffi, though, I'm a little disappointed with that whole telling of their story because here's Raffi telling everybody they're the main event and blah blah blah, but they're presenting this relationship as if it was something, it's just innuendo. It's just kind of little like, I'm like, go for it. If you're gonna say that these two are together and they're the main event and they're the lovers and blah blah blah, we haven't seen these two do anything more than hold fingertips. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is like Hallmark. Like, what are you doing here? Am I waiting till the end of the season to get the one kiss from these two? Like, give me something. But I'm taking a point away because that whole love story is just being played out like something from the 60s or something. It's just like,
Yeah, I'm like, if you're I need like a good like we've had an argument and now we're gonna like have the like we're angry makeout session that then fades to black. I don't need to see everything, but
I
give
don't
me a little
exactly.
bit.
Give
Like
me something. Make me believe this is something that is the main event because right now it isn't.
yeah, we see Paul and Stamets kiss all the time, so just give us some kisses.
Yeah, something. That's my one. I mean, I love that, they're saying it, but that's all. You're just talking right now. I'm just like, no, it's not the main event to me.
Yeah, a little more show, a little less tell, right? For for their relationship would be nice.
Rios is getting more action.
Right? But someone who should not be learning this much about Rios.
Listen, that man needs to just. He has been absolutely. I don't understand it. So here's your guy who is like the captain of La Serena. I mean,
Mm.
he's like your guy, and I'm thinking like, okay, here's the muscle.
And the
He
captain
fought
of the
the
Stargazer.
captain of the yeah, he's the captain of the Stargate. First he falls and hits his head and he's out of it. Then he gets arrested and he's in the cage. Then they got to break him out of the bus. Then he falls for this doctor, shows her everything. I'm like, will you really just get back in the mission, please? Because I know they're gonna bring this around for me because I'm gonna trust that they are. But so far, my Rios, and you know I have that's my heart there. That's my heart. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
I know. I have so many questions about like motivation and what he's sort of thinking in this moment. Cause even I saw somebody, and I'll try to retweet it, but someone tweeted the other day, they were like, you literally have him getting arrested and captured by ICE in one episode. And then maybe an episode and a half later, it's just like, I love this century, real cigars and real food. And you're just like, but wait, dude, like you've seen the atrocities that are happening here and now, and you're still just like, I don't know, this seems pretty great. It's just like, has he totally fallen head over heels for this doctor in like a way that he's just like totally blindsided? Which
Just lost his mind.
then to me, I'm just like, how are like what is the situation that's gonna happen here? And I don't know if it's gonna end up being, like a Save the Whales Star Trek movie situation where we bring someone back to the future
Oh,
because now they've seen too much. I don't know, but,
you're gonna have to because somebody is saying it right over there, Kung. Yeah, Rios is gonna have to do something.
yeah,
As I said, he's gonna have to
cute.
do some Chilean explaining to simple investigations because I'm like, you just gotta stop this mess. You take it to the ship. Wait, didn't he know? Didn't he laugh? Wasn't the Borg Queen on? Oh no, he knows the Borg Queen is off the ship when he
I
brought
don't
him back.
know. I mean, that's another big question I had was
I was
just
like,
like, how
oh,
are they obviously have teleportation systems back online, but then
right.
they're locked out of the ship in some way. And like, I let a lot of things slide for just like Star Trek technology
Right.
magic, but speaking of temporal situations, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, but I saw some people talking about in the chat,
Hmm.
is the FBI agent at the end supposed to be Lieutenant Duncan from the Voyager episode Relativity, and it is the same actor, which is very interesting to me if they're finally going to bring in some, like we have Seven of Nine, who was recruited by this same lieutenant to help solve that
Oh,
issue.
okay. I'm a little weak on my Voyager. I know which one you're talking about now, but I didn't pick that up at all. Oh God, I
So
gotta watch that.
yeah, so there's some interesting stuff happening because yeah, I was like, you can't be messing with time this much and not have some time police show up.
Yeah, they got a couple of people in the chat saying something that I thought was happening. They're gonna leave Rios. I said there's gonna be something that some reason why somebody's gonna have to stay behind and get the La Serena back, and it's
Hmm.
gonna be Rios. I mean, what was that movie Timeline? And that one guy stayed behind and became a knight, and he stayed back. All the other, remember that one when they were going back in time and they were
Hmm.
going back to the days of the knights, and he always wanted to be a knight and whatever. It was a
I
guy
think.
from the 300 Spartans. He was the guy that
Oh.
was in that movie. So if anybody knows the name of that movie, put it in the chat. I think it was called Timeline. So he had to stay behind. Anyway,
Oh.
but I don't know because they can't leave my reels behind.
I hope not.
I'm gonna be
So
really upset.
we're gonna see, but yeah, we'll talk more about that FBI agent. But yeah, I do think
Yeah,
there's some
that was interesting.
potential. That guy felt too important to just be a random FBI agent. So
Yes,
I
absolutely.
I think something is afoot.
Well,
But I did want to. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say the beginning of that scene. I mean, Guinan and Picard. That whole scene was, I think, one of the best scenes of Star Trek I have ever seen. The whole thing about the Illyrians, the bottle, calling, the summoning of the Q. She did the hand. I was just out of my mind. And then he comes down the stairs,
Mhm.
and I like, who's this guy? He's got to be somebody. Flaps out the. I mean, I lost my mind at the end of that thing. That was great.
Yeah, I love Ito's performance as Guinan. I think she does such an incredible job of capturing so
Oh,
many of the, like, nuances of Whoopi's performance and, like, the gestures and, like, that balance of being, like, a little bit sly and quirky and like mischievous. That's like all of my favorite parts of Guinan. And then, but also still like realizing that she's playing a Guinan that's not that Guinan yet. Like, so there's
Right.
steps that have to happen between
Right.
that. And I'm glad. I've always been fascinated by the relationship between the Elarians and the Qs and sort of what's going on there. And I hope we get a good face-off battle at some point in this
Oh,
series because I need it so much.
I want it so much. I mean, we always knew from Guinan, the way Q reacted to her in Next Gen, that there was
Yeah.
some additional power that she had that put him on the defensive. And now we hear that the Allurians are a people that actually went mano a mano with the Q to the point where they had to call a truce. So,
Yep.
somebody please give me that story. I need it very badly.
Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed all of the history and the information, like you said, that we got in this episode. And the thing that kind of the only like nit I will pick about that whole scene is like Picard explained all of this to Talon. Where's Talon? Like I thought she would be there for this. Like,
Hmm.
if you're gonna have the gathering of the omniscient time traveling beings, perhaps they should all be there and have a little summit about it. And like
Yeah, where is she?
also we've definitely seen that, when at least when she's Laris kicks ass. So it's like I'm ready to see someone punch Q in the face over all of this nonsense. And
Oh,
I
he's
feel
a
like
sick man. He's a sick man. You can't. We gotta know like what's wrong with Q because that was just freaking out Guinan. Like this didn't work.
I almost
Oh
thought he
wow.
was going to walk down the stairs, but because he's been losing his powers, he's no longer a Q. Because I feel like there's potential that he has messed up the timeline so much that now Qs don't exist.
Yes. I know. So, I know. There's gonna be some big da 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 at the end, and I can't wait because Picard. That was the only thing I really liked. Picard said in the whole episode when he said, "I have to understand why this is important to Q," and I even had a aha moment when he said that. It's like, and he said, "And then we can go on the offensive," and I'm like, "Oh, my boy Picard is coming back. All right, he's off the bio bed. He's
he's
back."
he's ready to go. Yeah, I also think that would have been like my first step though after you've had this relationship with Q is to like understand what the point of all of this is. And maybe it's because I'm sitting here with like 20 different stories that need to be wrapped up at this point in the series because
Right.
I'm like, okay, we got Soong who's like trying to run over the Renee. We've got Renee. We're trying to get on a spaceship. We got to get that spaceship up into space. We have to figure out if Q has lost all his powers. Do Q still exist? We eventually have to get this Borg queen under control. We got to
Gotta get this. We
de-Borgify
gotta
Girardi.
right.
Like,
We got to get we got to get this La Serena working again. You got everything is locked out, and it's like, okay, you're in a mess here.
and then we got to go back to our regular timeline. And I think we only have 4 episodes left. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. So that's why I don't appreciate you mucking around in his head for like a half a 45 minutes. Just time, let's go. But okay, that's what they did. That's what they did. But I don't know. It was just I did love one line that Guinan had when she said, "Ask, is that what just happened?" That was so whoopee. And the other thing I loved about this, and we've talked about this on one of our shows, was that I think it was the doctor in the mine. He said, "Even your closest friends call you captain." And I said, "Not Raffi. She calls him JL, and not Guinan. She calls him
mhm.
Picard." I was like, "Ah, yeah." There's two people that are like, "No, you're not playing this mess with me, okay? Everybody else." But
Well, those are
that was good.
probably the 2 people at this point who've actually gotten to know him more than anyone else, besides maybe the original,
Yeah,
bridge crew,
right.
and those people in his life, outside of that. And it's interesting that even those people seemingly that what we've seen in Picard the series and they sort of touched on it in series 1 is that he did lose touch with a lot of those folks for many years. And so there's a
True
distance
enough.
that's made between him and people who actually get to know him.
Right.
Um, So I think that's going to be.
Everybody. He iced everybody. And
Mhm,
and even Rios had that one line that like broke my heart where he said, I look at him as a father figure, even though he doesn't look at me as a son.
mhm.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah. It was, a little a little self-aware. I was just like, "How much therapy have you been in, Rios?" For you to be like, "Yeah, I have dad issues," you know? Just putting it out there.
he knows he has that. Well, he was what was he reading on the very first episode? He was reading the something. He was reading some really deep philosophical book. You know, he spent a few moments thinking about it. So
Yeah, I mean, all of his ship's, like, assistants are himself, so he's obviously got a few things going on. Um,
I love his character. Please don't leave him behind in this horrible century.
I know Cristobal is great. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. We got
Oh, a
Marge.
lot of stuff.
Yeah, like Mariah, I think the Q are incapacitated or potentially don't exist. Picard is gonna have to save the Qs. That would be
Oh,
interesting.
yeah. How about that?
Um, let's see. Kian says, as long as they don't use the lame logic from TOS in Tomorrow is Yesterday to make the doctor and her kid forget everything by transporting them back into their bodies before they learned Rio's secret. That could also be interesting. Go
But
back.
they could just use that, you know, that Romulan thing and just wipe it because she's got the,
Mm.
you know, kind of like that Harry Potter thing. Whoop.
The or Men in Black, they just
Yeah,
erased
real
the
black,
the
yeah.
the
Yeah, I like to
memory.
take the string out of her head, their heads, and I like the pensive thing kind of better. But no, let's not
Mhm.
mix our franchises.
Well, I think you still remember it. That's just like a way for you to like
Yeah,
for
that's
the
just a way to
remember
take it
all,
out. Right.
you you pick it up. Um, the wands, let's see. I don't see any other pods. Um, Rio seems to always have daddy issues with his captains.
Yeah, he does. He knows it. He's like, "Yep, I have a tendency to do this."
That is an interesting point, Stress VK. What's up with the I Dream of Genie bottle? And is there only one? And Guinan happens to have it.
You know, thank you, Stress Free K. I was with the. Why does she have the bottle? And like, and you know, did you notice that the bottle was almost kind of empty? It looked like
Yeah, so, like, do you only get to call for them so often
it
or,
looked like they've
like
been calling them a few times. I don't know. She said every time you want to summon a Q. I'm like, well, you've been down in that bottle because you're down to like the last.
yeah,
It
or
was
was
like a
there, like,
little.
a division of the bottles, like, or were there multiple and she only has, like, a small amount of them?
You know, like what was that about? It's cut up like what was like what do the Ferengi do? They cut you up and dissect you into little pieces and sell them all off.
Oh, god.
Everybody got a little bottle. That's a little bottle. You know,
Yeah,
it was a big bottle and everybody got a little bottle.
potentially,
But yeah, that was
potentially.
weird. I thought the same thing. Like, why does she have the bottle
It's very interesting.
of the Q truce?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, we'll probably find out more specifically about her in this Q, our Q, since they seem to have a relationship, that's from before any of this and into the future. What do you think is Q's motivations for all of this? Do you think he was trying to do one final test for Picard and it backfired, or do you think this is all a part of Q's bigger trial?
Oh, I think it's all about Q. You know, he needs Picard to do something. I mean, I think he's truly not trying to help us. He's trying to help him. I think Picard nailed it when he figured it out that we have to find out why this is so important to Q.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be interesting. I'm also still like very intrigued as to how Dr. Soong is going to play out into all of this.
Hmm.
And I also wish at this point, I was hoping we'd get some flash or moment into Cora slash Soji. And because we had that big reveal where she essentially finds out that she is a science experiment, and then we got
Right.
no real like what's the consequence of this new information for her.
Exactly.
um
She just stalked off, right?
yeah, I mean, it just like ended with her in this like montage of terribleness, and then like we haven't seen her since. So
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm like, well, what happened to that story? I don't know. And it's just, I can't keep it straight sometimes. Somebody else said that there's 20 threads in here and it's all
mhm.
just getting to be a bit much. But I love that. I do, but I don't know. I don't see how all of this stuff is going to tie up.
Yeah, it's gonna be
But
it's gonna
that's why I'm
be
not in the writers' room.
yeah, it's gonna be tough. I have hope that they're gonna stick all of the landings. There's just a lot of landings to make at this point,
Yeah.
which makes me nervous. But I, am a fan of a lot of the people who work on this show, and I always liked as someone who makes things. It's so hard to make anything, so it's just like the
Yeah.
process in it of itself is incredible. And I will say, I really enjoyed a lot of the artistic direction in this particular
Oh,
episode.
let's talk about it. Yes.
I thought there was some really beautiful and creative moments within like the dungeon and the dream sequence and like that beautiful painting that they put together on the
On
glass
the glass.
that
Yes.
Picard and his mother are painting at the beginning, and it has the story that's being sort of played out there. And then when that all started to come to life, I thought
It's
was
very
really
scary. Yeah.
very effective. And then I saw in the interview with Ito on the Ready Room, she was talking about the impact that the set designers really had for the
The
bar
bar.
for 10 Forward, and how she really felt like it was Guinan's bar, and like the attention to detail that sort of went into that. And there's so many extra little Easter eggs. I feel like every time I watch some of these things that I see that they've planted in places
Oh
that I
yeah.
just like always shouts to props and set decorators are really just like
They
hustling.
do such a great job on this show. I mean, I love watching the show. I actually sometimes even just watch it without the sound on because I'm just looking at it, and just because I see it so many times, I
Yeah.
end up watching it with no sound just to see what's going on. Because sometimes it just distracts you. There's so much information, so much verbal information that I like to just watch it sometimes. And it's just a joy every week. The ship looks great. I do, and I think that's why I get a little irritated by the dark scenes because I want to see everything
Mhm.
because they're doing such a great job, and you just kind of like, oh, what is going on? But oh, did anybody? Okay, I had one thought when he was talking about. He said once upon a time he was telling the story. There was a queen with the fiery red hair. And did anyone else go right to Beverly Crusher? I was like, can we just say
Oh.
Beverly?
I hadn't gone there. I went to, I think because I know what Annie looks like in real life, I went to the Borg Queen. Like,
I went right to Beverly. I was Beverly. I was like,
interesting.
come on, that's your love. I know you're messing around with these Romulan women, but listen, let's get back to the real love.
Justice for Beverly.
Yes, I'm sure there's some cubicle in that brain that we need to go in there and find out where he put her. So, but
Yeah,
I
and
I thought of her when he talked about the red hair.
I and I feel like now once I the it was once we were shown that it was his father, or revealed to us that it was his father, it made more sense to me. But when the doctor is like, "You're not very good at telling stories," and I was like, "That's not true. Picard is very good at telling stories. Like that's all he does is give us long speeches that have a story."
Long-winded speeches.
To like inspire us to do things, like even in this series, like his beautiful conversation with Renee last episode, which I
Yeah,
thought was one of the best scenes last episode.
true.
um he is very good with his words and figuring out ways to like inspire people and to move things forward and to solve problems. And so when the doctor's just like, "You're not very good at telling stories, are you?" When he's like, "The queen is female." And I was like,
Yeah.
this is
I know. But his mother said to him, "You will become the prince. You are the prince, and you will be
Mhm.
able to lead your people in times of dire straits," or whatever she said to him. And I was like, "Yep, he's gonna do that." So I don't know.
Yeah, but I felt like the dad reveal made sense to me,
Oh yeah.
because then it's like the dad he's always had this conflict, right, where his dad is always sort of nitpicking and not, supportive,
Well,
and
he
it's
goes
that.
farther than that. He said
Yeah.
his father was a monster. I mean,
Mhm.
even in the earlier ones, he was saying that his father was hard on him to the point of abuse. Not like, oh, he was just a difficult guy to get along with. He's saying that this man was horrible to him.
Mhm.
And so there's a whole nother chapter after this scene with the mother, whatever's gonna happen with that, that this man now maybe he can't deal with whatever happens, and he takes it out on his son. So,
Mm.
maybe he's going to find out there's a reason why he was such a bad dad.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see that kind of play out. And I know Jon Stewart has he has talked about his own personal history with abuse in his family, and so
Hmm.
and that this was something that he is that
He
they're sort of
wanted to,
tackling.
yeah,
Mhm.
put in the script for him. Sure.
And they're kind of addressing within it, but I,
Mhm.
I I think a lot of Picard's maybe hesitation and like his inability to communicate effectively within his own mind when he's faced to his father is that there's then that fear that in like he's almost like been warped back to childhood, right? Like he's not the man that he is in
Of
this
course.
particular space. Like he is that boy that's running through and gets his foot caught and now cannot find his mama, like
Mama, mama. I was like, oh, not this kid again. But I mean, they're trying to tell such a serious story that I don't like feeling that I don't like just these sequences because they're trying to tell us something key, but I don't like these sequences. It's like it's just
yeah, I'm hoping we get some closure, which I think
so
will
long.
help the sequences feel more purposeful and less like a distraction from this like
Yeah, it's
main plot
just
points, right?
let's go. You're right because we only have four. I don't know how many more do we have.
I
This
think one, two,
and
three. I think
sometimes it's
I think
yeah
only three. Yeah.
3. Yeah, and sometimes there's so much that gets told in these stories, but I don't know how they're gonna get it all in there. But like you said, that's somebody saying in the chat, it's fine if they leave some of the threads for the third season. I'm like, yeah,
That's true.
that's true.
Yeah, we will see. Carmen says maybe we can have some 60-minute episodes. We need those extra 15 minutes to further some of these plot lines. Agree. These last two episodes have felt a little short, so I'm hoping we get somewhere. Kuhn
Yeah.
also, this was a fun point. Well, I like
Ito's. That's
Ito's portrayal. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna practice her last name so I get it
yeah.
correct." Ito's portrayal, I'm glad it wasn't Q who appeared when she made the Guinan hand gesture. It should be Whoopi when we get confrontation with Q. That would be fun for Whoopi to
Oh,
come back for the battle.
yeah.
Or maybe we
Yeah.
can have both Guinans because who knows? All time is off.
Come on, really, it's gonna be. We had. Yeah, it's gonna be. You don't know what's gonna happen. This is all messed up, but
Yeah.
I'm loving it. I'm
And
loving it.
then
Every season they got me. What the heck is gonna happen next?
yeah, I mean, I'm waiting. I'm watching every week, so they've got me. Marge brings up an interesting idea. Is John Luke's mom a queen, a Borg queen? She might have struggled with mental illness, but maybe there's more to it. Potential that could be
Oh,
interesting.
I I I think
Very
we're going. I think we're
interesting.
going in circles now.
Yeah.
I like that idea though, but yeah, I don't know.
I'm a big fan for wild theories. I love
Yeah.
just like throwing them out there and being like, maybe there'll be a tiny nugget of truth in here, but most likely this is just wishful thinking for something really wild. Um, well, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about in this particular episode?
Well, no, but one thing I do want to mention is that I always look at the opening credits, because they always pretty much, even Discovery, they tell
Yep.
us so much in those opening credits, and we still don't know what that infamous looking transwarp conduit thing, that little circle thing,
Mm.
because when Q gave Sung the card with the phone number on it, and of course I dialed it, that
Oh yeah,
same
that was fun.
that was the same image on that
Mhm.
card. And I was like, okay, well, I'm thinking, that's gonna be how they get home. I don't know, but then there's like this other ship in the thing, and because there's a lot of little things in the credits that still have to come. So I'm hopeful for like some real big boom bam, Voyager kind of ending.
Yeah, I mean, potentially if this guy is our lieutenant from Voyager, this FBI agent, there
Oh
is
right.
potential that there is like the time traveling ship that has essentially come to be like, why are you in this timeline? What is going on? everything is not where it should be. Everything is not okay. We have to fix a bunch of stuff. And so maybe this will be the answer to finally fix our temporal woes, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's still, oh man, I love that
I
ending.
I
Badge
also
flip. I'm law enforcement.
Mhm.
Oh snap!
Oh snap. I also think now that you have me thinking about the credits, it's such a good point, Sabrina. Like, um, I feel like there's that close-up eye shot of Picard before
Yes,
it's the big reveal, and it reminds me so much of
the
Locutus. And I'm
cutest.
wondering if we really got to go back to where it's all started.
You know what's gonna happen because we heard some voices when she went in, when Talon went into
Yep.
his mind and she said, "Well, if this is you sober, a five drink Picard must be
Must be a good time.
a five drink Picard must really be something." I just lost it on that line. So, this episode had some of the best lines. What was it? Oh, I'm from Chile. I just work in space. Thank
Yeah.
you. It was
Oh, I totally forgot about this thing, but and it's like so small, but why did Rios give the doctor the device from Seven to administer to Picard? Like, you're the one who
It's
knows how
the
to use
one that
the
knows how to use it,
technology.
giving it to her. And I'm like, oh my god, they made Rio so useless in the thing. He doesn't even know how to use come on. And then okay, so when she turned it on, then we went back into the scene with the little boy, and his head was glowing in the back. Right? Did anybody catch that? Was that supposed to be? You know what I'm talking about?
Was the little boy's head glowing? Is that
Yes.
what you mean?
Yeah,
Oh,
there
I
was like a
didn't
little
notice
spot
that.
on his head. Like I was like, is that where she's aiming the thing? Okay, I'm seeing too much in this,
Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, potentially that's like the neurons are firing, who knows? Like,
That's right. But yep, truth be saying it, we heard Locutus in his head. We got it. Locutus has got to show up.
Mhm.
Something's got to happen.
Yep, Locutus is central to all of
Locutus
this. I
always has been. And okay, yeah, the Bell riots. I know that I think that was like a red herring, the Bell riots, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I think something's gonna happen with that too.
Michael, given what we know that the entire TNG crew is returning next season, not just for a cameo, what are the chances we lose a Picard character this season? I mean, we've already technically lost our Romulan. Oh my gosh. Now that he hasn't been here for so long, how am I forgetting his name? Um,
Oh, the one that
that
was in love with Soji, or the one that was.
No, the one that that Raffi's been upset about, that's been seeing all
Oh,
over the place.
Elnor. I know. Poor
Eleanor.
Elnor. Where was Elnor? He's just gone.
I know, poor Eleanor. We'll see what happens with all of our newer Picard characters as we know the fate of
Rios has just
season
been
3.
stupid. Elnor is gone. Raffi and Seven are talking smack about being the thing, and they ain't doing nothing. My
Mhm.
only hopes are for Girardi to bring me through this, and Guinan to bring me to the next episode.
Yeah. This is an interesting. It looked like the little Prince Picard had a magical key at the end, and any ideas what that could be?
Yeah,
Uh,
he did.
I'm
He
not
did.
sure.
It was a
Eh,
beautiful piece. It was a beautiful piece of work. I mean, I just
mhm.
love the whole design crew. I mean, whatever that key was, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, the prop design and stuff is always so good on this show. I also liked we grabbed clothes from the Lost and
Lost and
Found
found,
that all magically fit
of course.
and look pretty decent.
Oh man, I'm telling you, Rios has just been something in this one. I'm holding out hope that he's going to come through big time because we need him back in his full captain, cigar smoking self, and not this bumbling, stumbling.
Yeah.
Man, I found a girl, and I'm gonna stay. I'm like, oh, will you come on,
Let's
you gotta
I'm
save the
sure you can
galaxy.
find the version of her in the future.
Right? He's gonna walk in the one that just looks just like her or something.
Yeah,
That would be nice.
that'd be
But
pretty.
how about I did like the writing in this, and I will say when they talked about the Allurians, and I just loved everything. Like I said, that is one of my favorite scenes ever in like the entire franchise. That scene with Guinan and Picard, and she said every action vibrates, every word has resonance. Metal and liquid can capture the half life of a moment. It was like, well, Picard, you need to put your shiggity in an Illyrian bottle and toss it out the hatch, because you need something, brother.
Let's put all the trauma into a bottle and Guinan can keep it for you. And then y'all can smash it.
That's what I was thinking. I said, you need one of those bottles, Picard. But I don't know that I thought the writing was just gorgeous. Some of the lines were so funny and sharp. And then, sometimes it feels to me sometimes, and I don't know how the writers' room works. And I love the plot, what's going on, this whole plot overall. But sometimes I think they've got the plot, here's what we gotta do. And then the writer comes in and they've got to somehow wrap all this stuff that they've got around this skeleton of the plot, the arc of the series, the year. And so sometimes, you've got these really great scenes that just seem to be like, wow, if I could only just get rid of this stuff that they told me I got to write, I don't
Mhm.
know how it's going, but there was just some beautiful scenes in there that just got,
Yeah, I've commented that I think this season would be better in a binge model, like if they were dropping like 3 episodes at a time. I mean, as someone who has to review episodes, I appreciate the week to week, but like
yeah,
I think a lot of these it feels like they figured out the whole season and then
yes,
just I mean, I know it's not arbitrarily. They probably
no,
thought about it a lot, but
yeah, yeah,
it just feels like we're getting these like stopping points that shouldn't be the actual stopping points. Like, it's just meant to
but it has,
watch the whole
right.
way through.
It,
Yeah,
it just has to be. It's got to be the 45 minutes, so they got to stop it there. But
right.
yeah, that's exactly, and that is so true because I too like the anticipation of each episode coming up. I mean, it makes my day knowing it's Thursday, and yes, to the new Star Trek. I don't want to binge the whole thing on the
Yeah.
first go round. So yeah, I want to see it, and then but that gives you enough time to like, why is he doing this? We're all crapping and yelling, and I don't know, and then we're thinking about all this stuff, and
Yeah.
we're gonna be all wrong, But that's part of the love of it too.
That's the fun. That's why we love it. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about
Talk
it.
smack and be wrong because we're not.
That's why they don't pay us the big bucks.
Exactly. That's why we're sitting here. But, I love this whole dissection of each episode and the why and the how come. But I have faith in the writers' room of Picard. They came through for me first season. They really did. I was kind of like waffling there on a couple of episodes. I don't know where you're going, but they tied it up, brought in the Titan, brought in
Yep.
Frakes. All right. So I have complete faith in them for this season too.
Yeah, yeah. I do as well. I think it's gonna be, I think it started out really strong. I think we're getting some confusing timey-wimey stuff here in the middle. We're Jeremy Bearaming our way through it, and
Exactly.
we'll eventually get to the end and be like, "Oh, I see now. I see what you were doing."
Yeah, exactly. Stress Free K is telling you Teresa's son is so enjoyable. Yes, I want a gold star for that kid. He is hilarious. I love him.
Yeah. "I'm gonna go touch
Everything.
everything."
Another great line.
I was just like, "Ah, don't touch anything. It's all
He's like,
Borgified.
ah,
You're
I
gonna
know,
be a
and then
tiny baby Borg."
and then Rios just lets the kid go. I'm like, no, stop him. There are warp coils and things that this kid should not be. He just went running off through the ship, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't with this guy today.
It is gonna be really funny when that kid runs into a hollow, version of Rio
Oh
somewhere on the
god,
ship.
that's right. Yeah, he is gonna run into something that's gonna be totally take him out. He's traumatized now. Actually, he's not traumatized. He's totally riding with it. He's like, cool, you're from outer space. When he said,
Let's do it.
I'm human, and she said, when somebody has to convince you that you're human, this is not good. This is whatever she said. I like Teresa. I do. I really like her character, and I don't know what they're gonna do with her, but stay or
Yeah,
go or whatever. We're gonna have the big goodbye, and it's gonna break my heart. But
yeah.
I do love this. I love the relationship. I love it, but I don't know why it's
Choopy.
there.
I really hope the dead Borg was removed. You got this kid running around, and there's just a torso Borg queen hanging out.
I mean, he just let the kid go running through the ship. I'm like, Rios. That hit of the head was really substantial, wasn't it?
I guess maybe it just
It's
hit him in like the right place.
oh, she fixed
Oh,
them up. Teresa fixed them up.
that's a good point. It's a Confederation ship. I'd hate to imagine what the holograms are like.
That's right. Oh my God.
At least he's human, so they won't be too bad. Well, Subrina, this has been truly a joy. I'm so glad you could join us this week.
Oh, I have loved it because I definitely wanted to to talk to somebody about this episode today.
Yes, and please remind our audience where they can follow you, where they can follow the Syfy Sisters, and promote all of the things.
You can find us on our own website, which is syfysisters.com. That's syfysistas.com. Again, you can find our podcast on trekgeeks.com/sci-fi sisters. And we're on Twitter, Insta, and Facebook, all as Sci-Fi Sisters. I think one of them is sci-fi.sisters, but you can get us on all three of those platforms.
Awesome. Yes, this has been so great. Please check out Subrina and the Syfy Sisters. They're wonderful. They're doing great things. They have such insightful, wonderful podcast episodes. So please go take a listen to what they've got going on.
Ooh.
Y'all do a great job, and I'm so glad you were here this week.
Thank you. I know. Thank you. Thank you guys and say hi, everybody in the chat.
Hi, everybody. And thank you to everyone who joined us for the live chat. We do appreciate it. You can find all of our things at StarTrekPod.co. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Star Trek Discovery Pod. And you can also make sure, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when we're going live. We will be back next week, and we're going to have the Duras sisters are joining us next week.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a really great time. And yeah, we've got some other fun guests coming down the pipeline as well. So make sure you keep an eye on our social media for that. But otherwise, thank you so much again, Subrina, for joining. Thank you all for
Thank
watching
you for
and
having me.
listening. And until next time, live long and prosper. Bye.
Bye.